Good morning, yogis, and welcome to Sacred Lotus Yoga. I'm Sarah, and today I'll be guiding you to a short morning stretch to shake off the night's sleep and welcome ourselves into the new day. This sequence is perfect for all levels, and you won't need any props, so roll out your mat and let's begin. Starting our class today in a comfortable cross-legged seat, sitting up nice and tall as we lengthen through the spine. Just take a moment, pop your hands on your knees and gently close your eyes. Just going to welcome ourselves into our class and welcome ourselves onto the mat this morning, leaving behind the night and bring ourselves into the new day. Just use this moment to notice how the body feels. Maybe it's pretty stiff and tense. Maybe the muscles haven't warmed up yet. Just notice how you're feeling. Just notice how the breath, how the mind is. Just taking a moment to check in. And gently begin to blink the eyes open. And begin to stretch the arms up and overhead, allowing the sitting bones to stay nice and rooted into the mat, and allowing the knees to drop heavy. As you reach through the fingertips, we lengthen through the sides of the body. Inhale and exhale, begin to twist and look over towards the left as you float the arms down and your right hand meets the left knee and your left hand plants to the ground behind you. Beginning to look over your left shoulder as we twist from the belly. On each inhale, we lift and lengthen out of the spine. And on the exhale, we twist deeper into the pose. And gently floating back through center. As we inhale, we reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, this time twist to the right as we float the arms down. Left hand plants on the right knee and the right hand plants behind you. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, begin to twist and look over the right shoulder. Twisting from the belly as you begin to warm up the spine, waking up the muscles. Stretching everything out. And gently float the arms back to center. We're going to begin to walk the fingertips away from the body, but staying high up on the fingers. Allow the shoulder blades to drop down your back as you begin to feel a nice stretch along both arms. Begin to drop your right ear towards your right shoulder and feel that really deep opening into the left shoulder, up into the neck. And then gently begin to tilt the head down so you're looking towards the knees. And you begin to feel that opening into the back of the neck, deep into the shoulder blade. This is great to do if you ever suffer from headaches or migraines. Such a good stretch. Begin to roll the head down as you bring your left ear to meet your left shoulder. Noticing the stretch on the other side of the neck, deep into the right shoulder. Noticing how it feels on this side of the body. And gently coming back to center. So staying with our legs crossed at the ankles. You can turn around so you're a long ways on the mat, just for a little bit more space. We're going to begin to walk our hands out in front of us, working deep into our hips, staying high up on the fingertips as you claw the fingertips into the mat. Allow the hips to become really heavy, so you really feel this deep into the hips, lengthening out through the spine, staying high up, clawing into the mat. Reaching as far ahead as you can. Just focusing on your breath, flowing with the breath down through the spine. Feeling that lovely opening. And then we're going to gently walk the hands back in towards the body and uncross the legs. We're just going to switch it up and cross the opposite leg in front this time. Sitting nice and tall. And then begin to walk the arms out in front. And just notice the difference on this side than on the last. Notice how tight, or if this side is a little bit more loose than the opposite. We tend to always naturally cross our legs one way. And just noticing how it feels to do the opposite. Just noticing the little changes, little differences in the body as we hold ourselves slightly different. Lengthen through the spine, maybe walk the hands a little bit more forward. Breathing, sending that breath down through the body. And gently walk the hands back in towards you. We're going to make our way over our legs, coming through to tabletop, coming over onto our hands and knees. Now we want to make sure that our wrists are in line under our shoulders and our knees are in line under our hips. Spread your fingertips nice and wide so we're protecting our wrists this morning. We're going to flow through some gentle cat-cows. We're going to try and flow with our own breath. So as you inhale, you'll drop the belly, you'll open the chest forward, locking, gazing out in front of you. Tailbone is reaching nice and high. And as you exhale, you make your way into cat by beginning to round through the spine as you drop the gaze. Looking towards the knees. Inhale, flow back into cow, drop the belly, lift the gaze. And exhale, rounding into cat. And just moving through a few cat-cows to the pace of your own breath as we stretch and warm up the spine. And bringing movement down through the body. And gently coming back to tabletop, we're going to begin to shift the hips over towards the left as you bring the gaze to follow. As if you're trying to look over towards the left hip, you'll feel a nice deep opening to the right side of the body. And begin to focus on the breath as you begin to really notice the right lung fill up with air. Notice as you exhale the change in the body. And gently come back to center and move over towards the right. Shift the hips over, bring the gaze to follow. And begin to flow, noticing the breath. And gently come back to center. Bring the big toes to touch. Keep the knees where they are. Maybe they need to come a little bit wider if you quite tight hips. We're going to keep our right hand planted, but making sure our fingertips are spread nice and wide. Begin to draw the left arm up. Bring it to meet the left shoulder. You really want to open through the chest as our elbow points up towards the sky. Stretching, twisting from the belly. And then begin to reach through the left fingertips as they point up, coming into an even deeper stretch. Opening through the front side of the body. Stretching and opening up. And then begin to bend at the elbow. So you rest the left hand maybe down onto the sacrum or maybe tucking into the right hip. Reaching through that shoulder. Keeping a nice open heart space. And gently release the left arm, fingertips point up. And releasing back down. We'll take it to the opposite side now. So begin to ground deeply through all 5 fingers of the left hand as you begin to twist and draw the right hand up towards the shoulder. Elbow points up towards the sky. Twist at the belly and begin to reach through the right fingertips. Finding more space to reach a little bit further. And bend at the elbow, drop the hand down. Inhale, reach and lengthen. Exhale, see if you can twist and go deeper. And then gently beginning to reach the right hand back up and make your way back down to center. From here, we're going to stretch our body out long on the mat into our puppy pose. So keep your knees as they are. Walk the hands forward and we're going to rest down onto our chin. So allow your chest, your heart space to melt down towards the mat, keeping the gaze facing up towards your hands. You rest down, stretching deep into the shoulders, deep down through the spine. Just stay here for another breath. And gently coming back up, walk the hands back in. And make our way now into our first downward facing dog. Taking it nice and slowly because we're probably still pretty tight from our night's sleep. So tuck our toes under, keeping your knees as deeply bent as you need to. We're going to begin to lift the hips up off the mat, sending them high up towards the sky. So begin to lift the knees away from the mat and pressing the hips towards the back of the room. Fingertips are spread nice and wide. Feet are at least hip width distance apart and our knees are deeply bent. You can begin to bring movement by dropping one knee at a time, beginning to pedal out the legs, finding movement up through the hamstrings into the hips, just making whatever movements that you need in your down dog. And then coming back to stillness, I'm going to walk up towards the top of the mat, where we'll all meet in forward fold. Feet, again, are hip width distance apart, bending at the knees and allowing the upper body to melt and hang heavy over the legs. Begin to peel up into our halfway lift by planting our hands on our shins, beginning to reach up and out through the crown of the head as we lengthen through the spine, finding space through the whole back of the body. Feel a really deep opening up through the backs of the legs and up and out through the spine. Such a lovely way to wake up the whole body. Really reaching through the crown of the head, lengthening out of the vertebrae. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Bend into the knees as much as you need to so you can bring the hands to plant onto the mat. We're going to step our right foot towards the back of the mat, drop the knee down, sink the hips, opening deep, finding that stretch deep into the hips. Adjust if you need to, making sure your knee is in line over your ankle. Always remembering to protect our joints. And we're going to tuck the toes back under, lift the knee off the mat, step the right foot to meet the left. Back into our forward fold. Allow the arms to become heavy. Still bending into the knees as much as you need to. Bring the fingertips back onto the mat, taking it to the left side. Begin to send the left foot towards the back of the mat, dropping down into our low lunge. Allow the hips to sink and feel that deep opening. Noticing how it feels one side from the next. Begin to lift the knee off the mat and step back up towards the top of the mat. Coming back into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, plant the hands on the shins. Lift and hinge forward, lengthen through the spine, roll the shoulder blades back and away from the ears. And exhale, forward fold. Heel toe your feet as wide as the mat, so your toes come off the mat. Maybe a little bit deeper if you need to. We're going to make our way down into our yogi squat from here. So plant your fingertips back down onto the mat to support you as you begin to sink your hips down towards the ground. Resting down into our squat. Bring your hands in between the legs. So you want to lift and lengthen out through the spine. We don't want to be collapsing down. So begin to lift and lengthen as you draw the hands into prayer. As you use your elbows to open the legs, you find more space deep into the body. Bring a nice movement, maybe swaying side to side. Bring some movement into our pose. And then begin to bring the arms out, drop the sitting bones down to meet the mat. And from here, we're going to cross at the ankles like we did in the beginning of our class. And just rest your hands onto the knees and close your eyes. And just take note of how the body feels now. Notice how the muscles feel. Notice if the body feels a little bit warmer, a little bit more stretched and released. Just notice what you notice. Just check in. And begin to drop the arms away from the legs. Stretch the hands back up and overhead. Palms touch, drawing down in front of your heart center. And gently begin to drop the head towards the hands. Thank you very much for joining me for this class this morning. I do hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you again very soon on the mat. Namaste.